So next, what I got, another Trump witch hunt, and this one is very, very troubling indeed, and this will continue to be in the news because it seems like to keep all of, and I think the title of this one's going to be the media just isn't covering the Biden administration purposely. They're bringing up stories about Trump. They're talking about this January 6th commission, and the reason that they're doing so is because they legitimately they know that it's been such a bad administration that they will do anything to take the blame off of Biden, and they want to make the story about Trump because they are also tanking in their ratings as well. They need Trump. They need Trump to be the president because they don't know how to cover the Biden administration. It's easy for Fox News, it's easy for the conservatives to cover Trump because there's good, there's bad. But there is some overwhelming goods in the past administration. Tax cuts, deregulation. The only part that really was truly the worst part about the Trump administration is everything was done executively, so then it was rolled back when the next president came in, which was a serious problem and a serious concern. But here what we have is the media is not going to cover anything that Biden does wrong, so instead they're going to shift the story and they're going to shift the narrative somehow still to Donald Trump, who's no longer even the president, and they're going to they're talking about, like I said, that January 6th commission. So I want to first get to this Trump story, and then I'll go on to actually play some video in the Capitol building that day. So what I do have, though, is I have Letitia James. Letitia James is going to be the prosecutor going after Trump. At first, this was a civil case, and now they're informing the Trump team, you would call them, that this is no longer going to be a civil case and this is moving over to a criminal case. So just hear what Letitia James, what she ran on while she was running as a prosecutor. Just remind you all, she is George Soros backed. She was funded by George Soros to get elected in the state of New York. Play 9.
To focus on Donald Trump and his abuses. We need to follow his money. We need to find out where he's laundered money. All of those transactions have happened here in New York City. Tell this president and every other individual that no one is above the law.
Again, going after Donald Trump, this illegitimate government president of the United States. Individuals who care that he has colluded and that he's violated the emoluments clause. And that basically all that he stands for is in violation of our values and who we are as a people and as a society.
Running for Attorney General because I will never be afraid to challenge this illegitimate president when our fundamental rights are at stake.
A legal system where even the most powerful in the country cannot use a loophole to evade justice.
We must do our job to ensure that the man currently occupying the Oval Office is held accountable to any and everything he has done.
This lady pretty much has run to become the Attorney General in New York. She ran strictly on a anti-Trump campaign. So she's been going after Trump from day one. She's been trying to find ways to release his IRS records, release his tax records, even while he was running for president. She's also been known for going after the NRA, so the NRA could not donate to the Republican campaigns in the past election. So she's pretty much a Democrat activist, which we really get into some serious problems now when we have the Attorney General, the AG positions that are really not supposed to be political, when we have them politicized to this extent. So after learning of this, Trump comes out with a statement. It's a couple pages long, but I just took a smaller excerpt from it. So he states, and I quote, "I have just learned through leaks in the mainstream media that after being under investigation from the time I came down the escalator 5.5 years ago, including the fake Russia hoax, the 2-year, $48 million, no collusion Mueller witch hunt, impeachment hoax number 1, impeachment hoax number 2, and others, that the Democrat New York Attorney General has informed my organization that their investigation is no longer just a civil matter, but also potentially a criminal investigation working with the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. There is nothing more corrupt than an investigation that is in desperate search of a crime, but make no mistake, that is exactly what is happening here." So that's his first thing. So let me just break that down. When he says at the very end, now the way that the law enforcement system is supposed to work is you find the crime, you investigate the crime, and then you find the person that committed the crime through the investigation of the crime. The way in which she is enforcing law right now is you find the person who is Donald Trump, my political enemy, the political enemy of the left wing, that we want to make an example out of because he's not from the establishment. We take Donald Trump and we investigate him and we try to find a crime. That is an illegitimate way of the process. That is a dereliction of the Constitution. There is nothing in the Constitution supporting that the government at any time can just select a person and investigate them based on nothing. No criminal activity. You would need a warrant, and in order to get that warrant, you need some sort of probable cause that a crime was committed. So next he's going to go on. The Attorney General of New York literally campaigned on prosecuting Donald Trump even before she knew anything about me. She said that if elected, she would use her office to look into every aspect of my real estate dealings. She swore that she would definitely sue me. She boasted on video that she would be, and I quote, a real pain in the ass. She declared, just wait until I'm in the Attorney General's office. And, she said, I've got my eyes on Trump Tower. She also promised that if elected, she would, and I quote, join with law enforcement and other attorney generals across the nation in removing this president from office, end quote. And she stated next, and I quote, it's important that everyone understand that the days of Donald Trump are coming to an end. So we have somebody that has been so far politicized, once again, backed by George Soros. I think he gave her, I want to say something like 70 million. Maybe I'm overshooting it. Maybe it's more like 7 million to her campaign while she was running as Attorney General. So it goes on. The Attorney General made each of these statements not after having had an opportunity to actually look at the facts, but before she was even elected, before she had even seen a shred of evidence. This is something that happens in failed third world countries, not the United States. If you can run for a prosecutor's office pledging to take out your enemies and be elected to that job by partisan voters who wish to enact political retribution, then we are no longer a free constitutional democracy. So he is 100% correct on this. This is no longer a free country. This is a third world republic, or what they would like to call a banana republic. This is a third world country. Prosecuting political enemies for the sheer reason of being your political enemy is not due process. It is directly in violation of the Constitution, which the left likes to wipe their butt with. They don't take it seriously, obviously, the Constitution. We're getting more and more like this communist, like totalitarian regime where you are punished for going against the grain. You're punished for going against the establishment that has been in power for such a long time, such a long duration. And that is what Donald Trump did. And they're using this now as a period of retribution, as a punitive measure. It sends the message to everybody in this country, oh, if you're going to run from outside the establishment and you think you're going to become president and you're going to do things that are going to better the country, you're going to lower taxes, you're going to make people's lives easier, you're going to give them more freedom, you're going to protect liberty and freedom, you will be prosecuted afterwards for retribution, as they call it. Trump has really, this idea of Trump derangement syndrome, actually, I'd never really believed it was a real thing until I started getting on social media, and then I realized there are a lot of people that are absolutely deranged. They are mentally damaged from this Trump presidency. They are very vocal when Trump was the president, but Trump is now no longer the president, and there's a lot of negative things that are going on in the current administration, such as, I just saw a report that just recently, literally like just on my phone saw it, 30,000, I think it was either 30 or 60,000 they're reporting now at the border thus far this year have crossed illegally, which is astronomical numbers comparatively to the last administration. So there's a lot of things, there's a lot of negative aspects of this current administration, talking about taxes. As you can see right now, the market's not looking so good. Inflation is on the rise. These are statistics that are actually managed by the government, so it's not like I'm sitting here shooting conjecture out at you. I've come out with many different studies, the U.S. Labor and Statistics, the jobs report that just recently came out. We have a lot of negative economic ramifications from the current administration right now. A lot of these social policies, a lot of these social programs are the root cause of this, and that has been pushed through this administration at this point. But there is a cognitive dissonance from the left wing in our politics where they no longer pay attention to who the president is as long as it is the person that they like, and they will not they will do anything to justify the actions from the administration because their person that they like so much is in. Now, I wasn't a big fan of some of this reform that Trump came through with, the banning of chokeholds through an executive order. I didn't like that. I also did not like whatever crime bill he had. It wasn't a crime bill, but it was the First Step Act. I wasn't a fan of that either. There's a lot of things with the Trump administration I was not a fan of him doing, and I was openly vocal about it. I wasn't vocal here because I didn't have a podcast at the time. But there was a lot of things he did, such as some of the trade wars that he had, I wasn't a big fan of as well. Because hitting these other countries with tariffs as their things come in, as their goods and commodities come in, what they do is they just raise the price to make up for the tax, and then we end up actually paying the tariff more than anybody else in other countries. So, like I said, they do not live in a realistic society. They are living in a cognitive dissonance, and the media is purposely kind of shifting the narrative on everybody. So now the narrative is going to shift to Donald Trump. He's getting investigated for criminal charges. Oh my God, the left is gonna, they're gonna cheer. And they'll never be satiated by the blood that's spilled by their political enemies. By the way, this will never end. This will just continue. If they're able to get away with locking up Donald Trump for some total stupid whatever criminal reason they want to pin on him, if they're able to do this, all of this just to begin with works as a deterrent, so people know in the future there's no point in running for office because look what happened to Donald Trump. And I was calling this during the administration. I was talking to my father about it. I said, watch, if he does not win this next election, or even after, if he wins this next election, they're going to attempt to prosecute him and put him in prison because he did so much against what they're for. They're all about globalism. And you could say that about the establishment. You could say that about the Democrats as well. The establishment Republicans, too. They're about globalism around the country, holding world power. They're not really. And then they're also additionally about letting these councils like the UN to make policy in the United States. They're not about representing you, the people. They're about their own narcissistic, whatever their self-aggrandizement is at this time, whatever their personal avarice motivates them to do. That is what they're enticed to do. That's what they're interested in. They're not interested in helping you, the citizen that you think you are free in this system. They're not here to help you. They're here to only help themselves. So when there was a person in there that wasn't all about themselves all the time, even though Trump loved to talk about his numbers and loved to talk about this and that, and how many people he had come out to events. There was a lot of job numbers. There was a lot of, I think that Trump, this is the way I look at it here. Trump was selfish in the way where he wanted to make himself look good because he already had all the other things, whereas you have these politicians that all they care about is getting themselves rich. Trump was already rich, so he didn't care about that. He wanted to be liked, to be accepted amongst the population. So the only way he could see himself doing that is to govern effectively. This is actually kind of how the system is supposed to work. Whereas now the way that it works is you have people wanting to get rich off the system, and they're doing whatever they can to enrich themselves and their families, whereas Trump was already in the position, and he was doing it to, yes, enrich himself, but in a different way. That is just my personal conjecture, my personal opinion that I'm throwing in there.